Hi everybody, I'm Courtney and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a good autumn or spring, depending on where you live. I am currently experiencing my third autumn in a row, in a way, which is interesting. About a year ago I left and I went to England to spend some time with my boyfriend, now husband, and I had the English autumn and winter, which it was lovely to be with my husband, but it was an English winter. And then and then right as it was about to turn to spring in England, which I hear is beautiful, I went to Australia, which was moving into their autumn. So then I had a whole Australian autumn and winter, which Australia is not, where I was in Australia is not, super frigid, but it got cold. Like where I was, it was still like below freezing at night sometimes. And I was wearing winter jackets and hats, and the days were short and the sun went down early. And so I had that autumn and winter, and then right as it was about to turn to springtime in Australia, I come back to the US and right into autumn again. So I have to say, when summer finally comes around, I'm gonna definitely savor it. What is getting me through is pumpkin spice. I am one of those suckers for the American pumpkin spice obsession. I am an obsessed pumpkin spice American, and that is definitely helping me cope with more autumn and more winters. But anyway, it's funny, life, adventures. So today's video is going to be about skin health, and I want to talk about 5 main tips that I have or tricks to improve your skin if you don't have great skin, or to maintain your skin, over the course of your life. So yeah, so we're going to launch into those. Full disclosure, in my videos and right now I am wearing a small amount of makeup, but it's not much. Oh, I was gonna show you what I wear, but I have, I don't wear too much. I have a foundation by a company called By Terry that was actually gifted to me by one of my good friends, and it's a lovely, like very sheer foundation. I don't really like thick foundations, and I use the tiniest amounts, like not even the dime size, and it probably wouldn't even look a whole lot different if I didn't wear it, but I do like to wear a little bit of that. So I have a bit of that on, and also have a little bit of blush as well, but that's it. And that's typically the only thing I really wear in videos or in photos if you follow me on Instagram. So I don't have any concealer, I don't have any powder on, I don't have any bronzers or highlighters or contouring or shimmery illuminating kind of stuff. I think all those are cool and fun, but I'm just not really a beauty guru or a makeup guru. And so I just haven't really kept up on how you do all those things. So I'm a little bit old-fashioned. I just kind of use the basics. However, earlier in my life, I did struggle with skin problems. I never had like cystic acne or really severe acne, and I've had friends who have struggled with that, where it's much more severe than what I had. But I did used to get acne, particularly around my mouth and my nose, and red spots and blotchiness, and went through periods where I just felt like my skin really lacked vibrancy, and it used to be something that sorry, I'm stuffy. It used to be something that really bothered me, and it was enough that it impacted how I kind of felt about myself, and I felt like I needed to use quite a lot of makeup to cover it up, and that didn't always work. And so yeah, so that'll be the topic for today. I'll share with you what worked for me to clear up my skin, and what I've seen work for other people for their skin as well. So let's go. All right, so number 1, as you might expect, is about your diet. Improving your diet, paying attention to your diet. Your skin reflects the inner chemistry and the inner health of your body. So the skin is your largest organ, and it showcases what's really going on internally. So it's going to be reflecting you know, if your diet and your lifestyle is creating a lot of inflammation, if it's quite nutrient deficient, if it's got a lot of irritating components into it, your skin is going to reflect the poor quality of what you might be eating and drinking. And then vice versa, your skin will also reflect how much nutrients you're getting into your diet, how much of the phytonutrients you're getting, how many vitamins, how many minerals, how many antioxidants. And so in many ways, your skin is reflecting what you are eating, and also it's reflecting what you're not eating, in the sense that sometimes what we have to do to improve skin is stop eating or drinking something, and then that leads to improvement. And so for me, the number one thing dietarily that cleared up my skin and improved it was eliminating all animal products. So it was going completely vegan. In particular, I found that dairy really had an immediate impact on my skin. Even since I've been vegan, the couple times where I've had like a breakout have often been the few times where I've accidentally, despite all my efforts to screen things, I've accidentally taken in some dairy without realizing it, and then my skin will reflect that. And so I found that when I completely gave up dairy, but not just dairy, because there was also an improvement giving up meat, fish, eggs, all of the above. And so in my experience, animal products are one of the most aggravating things for the skin. When I see like, you know, preteens or teenagers, you know, that have the acne and the skin problems, I think to myself, gosh, if you could just give up milk, just give up the milk and the dairy, you know, just chuck it out the window. And if your mom says drink the milk, it's good for you, chuck it out the window, because dairy, I think, is just such an enemy for good skin. So your skin takes 2 to 3 weeks your skin cells take 2 to 3 weeks to replace themselves. So what I would recommend as an experiment is to go 100% vegan for at least 3 weeks. If it was me, I'd probably go for a full month just to be really thorough, but give it a try. And to really experiment with it correctly, I think you need to go 100% vegan, because then you can at least know for myself, is it animal products that are aggravating me? Now, obviously, some people have skin that is sensitive to gluten and sensitive to chocolate and sensitive to sugar and things like that. But I know for me, and it may be true for you, is that I actually can eat those other things, some gluten, some sugar, some, you know, not that I have these things a lot, but fried food, whatever. And they don't make me break out if I'm all vegan. And so if I were to rank them, I would consider the animal products to be a bigger priority to eliminate and to look at. And, you know, acne obviously can be hormonally related, which many of us know, but a huge thing that affects your hormone levels is your diet as well. So even if it's like hormone related, best way to balance your hormones is to be focusing on your nutrition and your diet. And animal products have all kinds of stuff in them that disrupt your hormones. And so it kind of fixes that issue as well. And then of course, beyond that, there's lots of things that you can incorporate into your diet that are good for skin. For me, the number one thing is leafy greens. Leafy greens, green vegetables, you know, making them into juices, making them in, you know, using them in smoothies, salads, green soups, just as many greens as possible is the fountain of youth. If you want to go hardcore, you can get into some wheatgrass, and there's all kinds of fun things you can do. But at least as a basic, try going all vegan and see how that works for your skin. All right. Number 2, hydration. So your skin is going to be very sensitive to how hydrated you are, and the more hydrated you are properly, the better that's going to reflect in your skin. Now, the amount of water that you should get every day obviously does depend on your height and your weight individually, but in my opinion, most of the standard recommendations for how much water you should drink each day are too low. So for most people, for example, the guideline of half your body weight in ounces, I think is usually not enough for most people. So like for me, I actually drink more, or the ideal, I don't always get this, but the ideal for me is my whole body weight in ounces. So for me, half of my body weight in ounces is low. Like that's a low water day for me. And so that may be something to play with too, is you might think you're hydrated, but you might need to get even more hydrated. Also keep in mind that many drinks dehydrate you. Unfortunately, any kind of caffeine is going to work against this hydration issue, and it's going to make your body more acidic, and it's going to dehydrate you. And so keep that in mind. For me, I don't do a whole lot of caffeine. I never drink full strength coffee. Sometimes I'll have a chai, and I like decaf, like organic decaf coffee as well. And I eat some chocolate, but I do think that not having regular full strength coffee and lots of caffeine regularly in my diet has also been helpful as well. Another great way to get both hydrated and get a lot of beauty minerals into your system all at once, again, is green juice. You know, juice that's made with lots of leafy greens and cucumber and celery and all that good stuff. All right, number 3 is beauty sleep. We call it beauty sleep for a reason. And when you don't get good sleep, when you don't get enough sleep, your body starts creating more stress hormones, and that's not good for your skin. And your body also repairs at night. So it repairs more when you're asleep than when you're awake. And so if you're not getting enough hours of sleep, or your quality of sleep is not good, then your body's not going to be able to repair as well as it could. And that is also going to impact on your skin health. For me, the best sleep comes under a couple different circumstances. For me, the best sleep comes if I leave a gap between my last meal and when I go to sleep. So not going to sleep digesting and with a bunch of things in your system will help your body get more restful sleep. And then also for me, sensory deprivation really works out well. So phone is on airplane mode, no disturbances coming in on there. I do earplugs, particularly if I'm in a place where there's a city where there's traffic noises or even wildlife noises. I often will still use earplugs. I use an eye mask or a blanket over my eyes and just shut everything out. And that's when I get the best sleep. And ironically, if you get good quality sleep, you also don't need as many hours of sleep because they're more quality. So focus on your sleep as another area to improve on. All right, number 4 is don't go overboard on products, but if you are going to use products, know what you're using. So I am no skincare guru in terms of like products and, dermatology and all that. But what I have observed for myself and for other people is that if you're focusing on the things we've talked about already, as well as some other things we'll talk about later in the video, that you really shouldn't need to be relying on lots of products in order to kind of save your skin. I often find that when we feel like we need a lot of products and there's that kind of frenzy to find the right one, it can be because some of these other areas are not in as much balance as they could, and then we're trying to compensate for stuff that's really reflecting from the inside out. So for me, I use one product regularly on my skin in terms of skincare. And that one product is coconut oil. It's the only thing that I use on like a daily or regular basis. And I use it when I get out of the shower to moisturize. I live in a very dry climate. Now my skin tends towards the dry side, and my skin is also not sensitive. It's not temperamental for the most part in terms of products. And so I know that coconut oil doesn't work for everyone, but I would encourage you to try out oil for your skin. And if coconut oil doesn't work because it is quite heavy, try out some of the other oils. So you can use olive oil on your skin, you can use almond oil, avocado oil, gosh, I'm sure you could do hemp oil and flax oil, jojoba oil, and a lot of those have different weights and different thicknesses. And so you can try out oils and see if that might work for your skin. The great thing about using oil as a moisturizer is you don't have to worry about any toxicity really, because there's just one ingredient in it. So you don't have to worry about any weird chemicals and man-made stuff and preservatives and things like that. And I do play around sometimes with some other products, but to be honest, half of the time I forget or I just don't do it. And so truly the only thing that's regular for me is coconut oil. I do like some of the other things. So for example, when I use exfoliant, I often am like, that looks real good. Or if I use toner, I think like that looks really nice too. Or, I use some makeup remover. Dr. Bronner's is quite good for makeup remover. For a lot of those other products, I like a company called Mineral Fusion. That's an all-natural skin care company. They have other things too. And yeah, so I'll use some of those and play around with those sometimes, and I really enjoy them, but I don't stress about products. But that being said, if you are going to use products, you do want to know what works for your skin, because I have had, like many of us probably, I've had times where I used a product that really wasn't the right thing for my skin, or it had like crappy ingredients in it or something, and then it did clog me in some way that made me break out a little bit. So if you are going to use products, you do want to get to know your skin and use the right ones. But I think my point is that I think you can keep it simple and you don't have to stress too much about products if you're doing these other things. All right, number 5 is feel your emotions. And now you might be thinking, what does that have to do with skincare and having healthy skin exactly? And I've left this for the last point, not because it's the least important, because in many cases, for some people, it may actually be the most important one. But I wanted to kind of run through the things that are important, but that you might be a bit more familiar with as potential tips and what you might be wanting to learn about. And then I wanted to include this towards the end as something for you to consider as well. And so feeling your emotions is about letting feelings have a voice. The reason I've got this in here is because I strongly believe in a connection between our emotions and our bodies, particularly suppressed emotions and our bodies. And this doesn't just go for skin. I believe that our health in general and all manner of things physically often have links to our emotions and to what's going on in our soul. And so that's why this is in here, because I believe that our physical symptoms can reflect what's going on emotionally for us. Now, I first learned about this topic many years ago from an author named Louise Hay, which some of you may have heard about. She has about a few books that talk about links between particular physical challenges or problems and what suppressed emotion or belief may be related to these issues. And then since then, I came across the Divine Truth material, and that has the most amazing, accurate, specific information about the connection between the soul and our physical body that I've ever come across. And I really recommend checking out that material. So I will link that material below. There's also another good book that is along these lines too. It's called The Body is the Barometer of the Soul, So Be Your Own Doctor. And it's a long title, and the author's name is Annette Noontil. The Body is the Barometer of the Soul is the name. And that book also talks about the corresponding emotions and different physical issues. And so many of these resources suggest that our skin health, like many other issues in our body, can also be related to what's going on emotionally. There's a few sources that I've read, and this is just something to experiment with. I don't know of any scientific studies out there that I can point you to, but there are suggestions that our skin is related to suppressed anger. I've read that in a few places. And so And each kind of physical body part or issue can have quite specific correlations. So there's suggestions, for example, that lung issues are around suppressed grief. But I've come across several times this idea that our anger can be related to our skin. And so, you know, I won't go through a whole thing of how we deal with our anger and how to feel our anger, which, to be honest, that's something I'm working on myself in my life and my own personal growth. But I will link some of the material, Divine Truth material, that talks about how to properly deal with anger. My beliefs that we need to acknowledge that we have any suppressed anger, look at what we're angry about, let ourselves feel the anger in a healthy way that's not at anybody else, but is a healthy expression of that emotion that gets the emotion moving versus suppressed and stagnant in us, which then also not only allows us to release the emotion of anger by feeling it, but then we can also access the deeper emotions of what we're angry about. And if you experiment with this, you never know, you know, it may just help with your skin. I often find that with physical problems, that particularly when they seem to not have any real explanation otherwise, like people who've just tried everything and it's not getting better, and they've tried all the dietary stuff and they've tried this and tried that and it doesn't work, and I've had issues like this myself with certain physical things, that's the time to go. Maybe it's a psychosomatic thing. You know, maybe this is about something emotionally. So I wanted to throw that in there because I feel very passionate about that. Our health is a combination of our diet and our lifestyle, which, by the way, is often driven by emotions as well, what we do or don't do, but then also a direct result of what's going on emotionally for us. So I think it's a cool thing to look into. So I hope that this gives you some ideas of things that you can do physically, that you can experiment with for improving or maintaining your skin health, and then also emotionally, things to look into. So that's it, and until next time, I hope everybody has a great rest of your week. Okay, bye-bye.